Alright, so season 8, episode 2, a another slow-paced episode basically. Um, a lot of similarities with episode 1, with characters basically coming together, and here we have them preparing for the war, and we had quite a bit of reunions, right? A few characters who had their reunion last episode. They came together again to kind of find some resolution, right? Jamie's arrival, of course, being the most important, the thing of most noteworthy happening this episode. With the reaction that I think most of us would have already expected. Sansa herself, I expect a different reaction from her, mostly because she was the only person who came to the conclusion that Cersei was in fact not coming. So I would assume that I figured her reaction would be different, but that was me discounting what had happened between her and Jamie in the past. I totally and thinking that they would think about the here and the now and not so much as what happened, because they did in fact. Well, she wasn't there, but name of the game is we're all going to die, right? And not this is what you did back then to me, because everyone in that room basically have either have done or their family has done something to the other, right? The biggest reaction that happened that I didn't expect was Daenerys, because she has acknowledged that yes, Jamie killed her father, but she did acknowledge that I'm not my father's daughter. That's the very thing that she said to try to convince these people that she's not there to kill them all. I'm not my father's daughter, but all of a sudden she is her father's daughter, and you killed my father, right? So I was a bit confused as to why she took that stance. But she didn't push the issue. I guess he was still her father, so I guess that's a natural reaction. Although she didn't. Imagine she didn't. They left when she was pretty young. She didn't know him that well, I imagine. Or from the sound of things, I didn't. I don't know a whole lot about how he treated his children. We knew he was terrible to other people. But I don't know. I've not read the books enough to know whether or not he treated the children well. So whether or not he was a good father to her, right? But nonetheless, he did in fact turn his back on his vow and killed his king. So again, natural reaction. And of course, what happened to Sansa again? I didn't expect that reaction, but I certainly understand it, right? Of course, Brienne being the person of reason, and she had reason to step in to defend Jamie and to explain to them that yes, he is guilty of all these things, but he's also an honorable man, and he has done these things as well. And Sansa, you would not be here if he didn't save me at that point and set me on that path to find you, right? So for all his flaws, he's still an honorable man basically, and I'm glad to see that at the very least they were able to come to a conclusion there, because I didn't want to spend too much time. I'm glad that they jumped right in at the very start of the episode. They started with Jamie, because I didn't want to spend too much time on should we kill him? Cersei betrayed us, so should we kill him or not? So I didn't spend too much time on that. They addressed it from the beginning, and again we don't have a lot of episodes. I didn't imagine they would, but I'm glad they touched that. They started off with that, and they addressed all the issues. Everyone aired all their concerns. Okay, this is what he did, right? But this is what we need to focus on now. And with that, we continue to see Daenerys having less and less faith in Tyrion's ability to be her hand. And to that, again, I said it before in my reaction that I just have this feeling Daenerys. She holds Tyrion accountable as she should. He is her hand, and these are his plans. But these are the plans that she agreed to, and she seems to exempt herself from any responsibility whatsoever when it comes to failure. But if there are successes, then she those at that point she's very willing to accept that this is the plan I agree to, and I don't much like that aspect of her personality, right? It's, I mean, again, Tyrion has failed more than once. I acknowledge that much, right? But it's not for lack of trying or incompetence on his part. It's war. You're not going to win every battle, so he has lost some. I don't think that should mean that he should be reconsidered. His position should be reconsidered or anything like that, right? And again, I just don't see her taking a responsibility for anything that has transpired, right? So, and I do think it's a foreboding to Tyrion's death this season. I don't know, other persons might die, but Tyrion for sure I do believe will die, because if not so much for that, because that discussion, but because later on they intentionally pointed out that, okay, you're going to go below with the other townfolk and stay safe there, right? Because my understanding, okay, this is, we need every able-bodied man and woman to fight, right? And even some of the younger ones, right? So why would Tyrion be exempt? I mean, then they made a good point. He's mining his greatest skill here, but at the same time, you need every able-bodied person there, and to me that signals that, okay, Tyrion might not in fact make it out of this, okay, right? So that's my prediction for Tyrion for the rest. I think he's one of the characters. We may lose others, but I believe he for sure is going to be one of the characters that we will lose this season, right? The last episode we did end on a cliffhanger with Sam telling Jon the truth, and I didn't think that. Well, at the very start, we saw he was intentionally avoiding her, and at that point I figured maybe they wouldn't touch on it, and maybe he thought it best to wait until after the war to tell her. But no, he didn't do it until the end of this episode, but he did it right before the horns were blown, right, to tell her the truth. And rightfully she was skeptical. I mean, we've been going through all of this, throughout the season, and last season, be like, okay, how's he going to prove his claim? Yeah, my brother saw some things. Nobody knows how Bran's thing works, right? And Sam read this in a book somewhere that someone wrote how many years ago. But I mean, that is how they keep records. But it was in his private journal or something, I believe. So it's not exactly an official document per se, right? So it's a bit difficult, but I imagine that is enough for most people. I mean, it certainly was enough for Sam and for Jon to believe. So I believe she will. I believe she will believe it, especially given what has been happening with her dragons and how accepting they have been of him, whereas they aren't towards all the other strangers. So I believe, I believe she will believe. I believe she does believe it. I don't know where Dany is concerned. I don't believe that she's willing to give up the throne. I don't think she will want to. And as I said before, I believe it's going to come down to Jon declining. Saying that he doesn't care. He doesn't want or need the throne, and at that, I believe that will be the juncture at which they will agree that, okay, let's just get hitched, and if it goes down that route, that is assuming that they both survive this war. And of course I don't want it to go that route, because I don't want a happy ending. Instead, that would just be too predictable. So I hope the writers do not go in that direction. But at least if they do agree to get married, something happens at the end to change things. All right. No, I mean, we did have, as I mentioned, a lot of reunions. So, of course, my favorite being the Hound and Arya, because last episode we saw them come together, but only briefly, and here we saw them meet again and have a discussion to say, okay, Arya asking him, why are you here, and why would you join the Brotherhood? All these things that the Hound is, it's not characteristic of him. So it's like, why would you be doing all these things? You've never fought for anyone but yourself, and he didn't give her an answer, of course, and we know what he's been through. She doesn't know quite yet. Um, but a good, fun, light moment there between her, the Hound, and I forget his name from the Brotherhood. Um, Between the three characters, so I enjoyed that the most out of this episode, to be honest, because it was just one moment where I just burst out laughing because I just loved seeing the Hound on screen, and yeah, everything he said just makes me laugh. Right. So of course we did have a midnight party with Tyrion and Jaime, and later on joined by Brienne, and of course having their Jaime making Brienne a knight, and it's just a party before the war starts, and they're drinking and talking, reminiscing and talking about old times and stuff like that. So it's just a good light moment before the chaos starts, right? Um, I mean, I suspect that more than anything else, most people will be talking about the scene between Gendry and Arya. Um, I mean, not so much. I believe they will. I don't understand why they would need to, but um, it, it's very likely going to be because it came out of nowhere, right? She has interacted with Gendry before, but only not for a very long time. And again, I'm I'm in Hot Pie's camp, right? But I guess Gendry is the one she chose, so more power to her. And it's the night before the war. They don't know whether or not either of them will be coming back alive, and she wants to know what it's like to be with someone before that happens, right? So good for her. And she finally got her weapon, of course, which turned out to be a staff. I mean, from the initial diagram, it didn't. I thought it was going to be something small. As I said before, I thought it was like a poison dart thing, which I don't know how useful that would have been against White Walkers. It was a silly guess, but that's what it looked like on paper. But on the diagram that she did give him, it did appear as though the head was detachable. So I don't know if it's possible for her to shoot the spear, to shoot the head of the blade, to shoot the blade off in front. But I mean, if you do that, then you've lost the dragon glass. So then it just becomes a wooden staff. Yeah. So I'm curious to see. I'm sure we'll get to see it in action and see how exactly it works. Would have still curious as to why she wanted that though, right? Because she already has needle, which again I guess is not that useful against them. She has her dagger. But, why are you going to be having 3 weapons though? No, she could always just leave needle behind and just have the dagger plus the staff. So it's all good, right? So we again reunions, reunions. We had a redo with Sansa and Daenerys. Sort of coming to an impasse, agreeing that all right, we both acted a bit selfishly on our first meeting, and let's start over, right? Because we both care for the same person. One, we both we both experienced some really horrible things, and we both went through a lot to get to the point where we are at now, right? And so having so many similarities, and that's one of the things that I've been saying to people since episode 1, where they've just been this divide, with people being on one side of the fence or another, one in Sansa's camp and another in Dany's camp, being that Sansa shouldn't have been so difficult, and with Dany when she introduced herself and giving her the cold shoulder and all of that, and the other camp, of course, being that Dany is a conqueror, and she's essentially coming to tell the Northerners that she is a queen and this is how things has to be, and in some ways selfishly not thinking about how her presence there affects them vis-a-vis the food that she did not carry with her. And one question I'm waiting for people to answer is, if Jon didn't go to recruit her, what was she going to feed her army? So where's the food? Why didn't they take food with them? I don't know. See, the episode seems to have thrown the whole food thing out the window since they brought it up. But it's a good question. What were they going to eat, right? But they've discussed, and as I said, the discussion that I've had with other persons, and some were on one side of the fence, and others were on the other. But I saw more similarities with these two characters than I saw differences. Sansa was a bit of a spoiled brat in the beginning, but in some ways, honestly, we saw them start on opposite sides of the spectrum and then pass each other. Because Daenerys is in some ways what Sansa was at the very start, a bit entitled, right? And these are the things that she feels she should have, and she's going to have them, right? So that is where Daenerys is now. But they've both gone through a lot of similar stuff where they've been passed around, married off, and they've been through a lot as women, and they found themselves here, right? So I see more similarities in the characters than I do differences. So I'm glad to see it was presented in that way in this episode, and they both agreed that we could have reacted a bit differently on our first meeting, and I'm glad that Sansa was very direct, right? In telling her that she trusts Brienne, and that she should trust Tyrion, in spite of the mistakes that he has made. His intentions are good, and of course about Jon as well. And then she rightly said, men do stupid things, and not just men. People do stupid things when they feel they are in love, right? So I believe that Jon made the right decision. He just made it for the wrong reason, right? Because Daenerys had already pledged her army to him. He had no reason to bend the knee. It wasn't necessary, at least not now. He could have waited until after the war to do that, right? But he did it nonetheless. So he did that for selfish reasons, and not so much for the war itself. So I'm glad Sansa pointed that out, and as I said in the initial reaction to it, Sansa seems to be the voice of reason this season, and whether it's earned or not, because a lot of persons have said it feels like a complete 180 for her character. I don't feel that way. I mean, if we had more time, I do feel we could have transitioned into that a bit more, but we don't. And it's not jarring for me, right? So I'm fine with it. So she seems to be the voice of reason here, and she's being direct and getting the characters to focus, and that's good, right? So of course, at the end there, they couldn't agree. They couldn't agree on everything. And the point that Sansa made is that, all right, what happens after the war? And I said this in my reaction in the very first episode, is that this is what Daenerys should have done initially when she got there, was at the very least to get the Northerners to ease into the transition into her rule, was to discuss what comes after, right? And I don't know, I can see, I don't believe that she would ever do this, but a good strategy at the very least would be to allow the Northerners to rule on their own with their own king, right? Of their choosing. Now, I mean, as she said, as Sansa said, the Northerners just took their home back, and they're not in a hurry to give that away to another conqueror, just as they've reclaimed it. And I think Daenerys should try to understand that, and at the very least, I mean, Jon is still Warden of the North, which is fine, but I mean, she spoke with Tyrion some time ago, before they made the crossing, about the wheel and breaking the wheel, right? And if that is her intention, then do not come here and try to do the exact same thing that everyone else has been doing all along. I am the king, you all need to bow before. I am the king or queen, and you all need to bend a knee and bow before me. So, I mean, break the mold, right? The Northerners, given all that they've been through, just say, okay, fine. After the war has ended, you guys are free to select your own king, and she can go and rule her Iron Throne and sit on her Iron Throne if she sees fit. But allow the Northerners to select their own leader, their own king, and leave them be, right? It's really neither here nor there to her. She doesn't know or understand the Northerners, and so I mean, as I said, I don't believe that she would ever do that, but it's for me, it's not too far fetched, and I don't know if that's what Sansa was hinting at when she told her, and she told her about it, like what comes next. So I don't know if that's the case, but I think it would be a good compromise. You fight for me, but yeah, at the end of it, you select your own leader and you do your own thing, right? And it's an alliance, and not so much where you're subservient to you, right? So who's to know whether or not that will happen or not? We don't know. Again, we had a reunion, because where the last episode ended, we did see Bran and Jamie, like, right across from each other. But where this episode started, they were already convened before Dany. So they did see each other. We just don't know what happened or how they got from point A to point B before, or if they spoke any at all. But they did speak in this episode, and I did not remember that no one else really knew what happened that day, right? And of course, Jamie apologized and saying he's not the same person he was back then. And as Bran pointed out, I mean, you would be the same person you were back then if you hadn't pushed me out that window, which led to all the domino effects of the events that happened that led us to this point, to this moment in time, right? So that had to have happened for them to get here. You know, that here is such a brilliant place to be in the first place. But point taken, Bran, right? So, I mean, at this point, it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, they're all fighting for the same cause now, and they may not make it out alive. So, who's to say? Right, later on, he might not be alive, but I don't believe he and Tyrion will die. As I said, I think Tyrion will die. So if Tyrion dies, I don't think Jaime will die. If Jaime dies, I don't think Tyrion will die. Right? There's gonna be one or the other. Now, of course, for this episode, we didn't see anything of Cersei. We didn't see Cersei at all. She was talked about, of course, between Tyrion and Jaime, who were reminiscing about the past and simpler times when things were, I miss the simpler times too, Tyrion, I do. And her motivations in terms of, and I mean, he spoke about the baby as to whether or not she was lying about her pregnancy. And while Tyrion, it seems confident that she wasn't lying, or rather, sorry, Jaime is confident that she wasn't lying. I'm not too sure about that either. He seems sure, but I don't understand why he's so certain, because she wasn't showing physically. She wasn't showing physically, so I'm not sure why he seems so, why he's so confident that she is in fact pregnant, or in fact that it's even his. But we won't know. I for one don't think that she was telling the truth about being pregnant. So I believe things will go a lot differently than Jaime believes that they will. So we finally have the war started. The horn has been blown. The signals here. Our characters are prepared. We had our little catch up the night before with everyone. Getting their unfinished business out of the way before the end, as we know it is here. And at the end here, we got our glimpse of the Night King and his other riders, and no sign of the dragon. So I imagine that comes after. I don't know why it's we will need to show it for budget reasons. Just wait until next episode anyway. But war is finally here, and the next episode it will be from here on out. I imagine full steam ahead, right? We do have this war to sort, and then after this war, there's Cersei to sort as well, and that only gives us 4 more episodes to go to conclude. All right, so we're very excited to see what happens. The battle starts next episode. Yeah. I mean, these 2 episodes have been a bit slow, and I mean, I understand a lot of persons are not so much frustrated, but just eagerly anticipating where things will start to ramp up. But we're enjoying the little, the slow moments and the character moments with everyone getting together and settling things among themselves, right? So we're just setting up the pieces on the board, and next episode seems to be based on the preview. Won't spoil anything, but based on the preview, next episode seems to be where we're gonna be hitting the ground running, right? So be sure to post down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. How excited are you for the next episode? What are you looking forward to the most? And also, who do you think we will lose? I do believe we'll lose someone in this war. That is before facing Cersei. I think we'll lose someone here. Do you think we'll lose Jaime or Tyrion? Be sure to post down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Be sure to hit like or subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.